Welcome everyone to the patrons only video for my assisted suicide video. Took me long enough to make it, but I appreciate you bearing with me, even as the YouTube algorithm doesn't want to bear with me. So, appreciate that very much. Let's get into this video. In this video, I'd like to explain a few extra ideas that I thought of over the course of writing the script for the main video, but which unfortunately didn't really fit anywhere in the main video. So, let's get into it. Number 1. Stephanie's dad's suffering. First, I wanted to draw attention to this interesting little tangent Stephanie offered.
I remember after my dad had surgery, he had a very serious complication and the doctors didn't know initially what it was. He was rushed to another hospital and I was in the emergency room beside his bed, and I remember wanting to scream at all the nurses because they were handling other patients, and I wanted to be like, "Don't you see my dad is suffering? Like, what are you going to do right now to fix it?"
Well, Stephanie, if God exists, then why should anyone help your suffering dad? Maybe your dad's suffering is part of God's plan. Maybe your dad's suffering will bring about some greater good. I mean, clearly God wanted your dad to suffer, so why are you trying to reduce your dad's suffering? Do you know better than God? Maybe, instead of trying to alleviate your dad's suffering, you should have told him to start with what? Maybe, instead of trying to get a nurse, you should have asked him what life lessons he could learn from his pain. Why didn't you do this? It's almost as if suffering bad, suffering kind of a deal breaker. At least when it's your family, of course. Number 2, forced medication. Based on everything Stephanie has argued, including the idea that being alive is always preferable to dying, even if it's against the person's will, because life is a gift from God, etc., I have to wonder, would Stephanie force someone to undergo a life-saving procedure, even if they didn't want to? It seems that Stephanie would have to say yes. She would force them to undergo a life-saving procedure, no matter what, just so long as it keeps the person biologically alive. I would also have to wonder if she would violate a person's religious objection to the life-saving procedure, such as a Jehovah's Witness who refuses a blood transfusion. Just something to think about. Number 3, general ignorance. Something else that occurred to me as I was writing the script for this video is that people like Stephanie Connors kind of remind me of the type of rich person who thinks that all poor people can just make better choices and that it's not really that hard to become financially secure. These are the kind of people who don't really try to understand what it's like to, for example, not be able to afford a car, which means you can only work a short distance from where you live, so even if you do find a better job, you might have no way to get there. Again, as just an analogy with rich versus poor. These type of people really have no idea what it's actually like to be in that situation, so they just assume that what they do know translates well enough for them to render judgment without much actual mental legwork on their part. I can get a better job. Why can't you? I was able to feel better when I wanted to die. Why can't you? Alright, I think that's all I really want to say on assisted suicide. Between the public video and this patrons only video, I can't really think of anything else I wanted to say. So, thank you very much for watching. Thank you, of course, for your continued support. Any questions, of course, I'll be happy to answer them. Bye for now.